And just like that, the screaming in the heads of the followers of Baghead stopped. It didn't just stop, though. It more was ripped out of them, leaving behind an emptiness that changed their lives instantly. Lady Baghead had disappeared from the face of the earth, and an emotional void was felt round the world. But none felt it quite as intensely as the followers of Baghead. The moment the giant was pulled away from the planet, the bag-headed ones doubled over as though a vacuum formed inside them. It was the greatest loss any of them ever felt, and it hit them all at once. Many couldn't bear the burden, causing their bodies to spontaneously implode, leaving small red bloodstains where they once stood. The ones who survived had to deal with the gravity of universal nothingness so deep their eyes and ears caved into their heads and their hearts shriveled into tiny stones of hate. Spitting vile words of indignation, they unchained themselves and wallowed in the darkness that was their new life. It had not been a good day for the followers of Baghead. Far above them, Skulk, with Lady Baghead's bags still in hand, and Hammerhands crash-landed on the mountaintop. Having both been intertwined with Lady Baghead at the moment of teleportation, the beast and the monster had the unfortunate situation of the rug being pulled out from under them. Upon landing, like a dog unchained from his kennel with no master to be seen, Hammerhands cannonballed out into the lands past the city's trash walls. The years he spent under the ethereal being's thumb inspired the monstrosity to seize the moment of freedom and extend it as long as he could. Directionless, he sped away from the city that was always falling apart. Though he was never to be seen again by the citizens of the city, to this day there are still odd circular craters of goop that look like they could have once been humans, found in various dark corners of the world. Skulk, on the other hand, was slow to get up. Still decently fucked up and dealing with the beginnings of an epic hangover, he looked to the sky searching for any signs of the one he'd begun to love. The sky silently stared back. The ogre looked down at Lady Baghead's bag still clutched in his hand. With a heart broken beyond repair, he did what any stubborn mule would do. He convinced himself she'd come back any minute. For 3 years, Skulk would sit on top of that mountain, waiting for her return. It wasn't fair, he thought. Although the moment he held on to had indeed been only momentary, he believed he had been cheated out of something profound by the universe itself. Of course, he didn't know how true that was. The beast decided he'd wait until what was fair happen, and she'd be returned to him. He built a chair out of the surrounding garbage to show whoever was watching this great folly that he planned on waiting as long as it took. The ogre glared at the heavens in disgust, gripping tightly to the knit bag in hand, the last relic of his disappeared love. The coarse fibers dug into his skin, serving as a constant reminder that he painfully missed her. After the first few months, Camelman noticed Skulk hadn't come down the mountain. The scrawny man-camel prided himself on being able to push beings to their limits, but never so far that they couldn't come back. He worried he might have pushed too hard with this one. Camelman answered to no one, but being the paranoid nut job he was, He was sure there was some kind of universal watchman watching his every move and waiting for him to go too far, as he feared he just had. He was positive they were always on the verge of swooping in and punishing him for the terrible things he did. Just to be clear, there weren't any. It's just the, drugs. The gangly one made his way up the summit and slowly approached the ogre sitting on his trash throne staring into the nothingness above.
The beast is okay, yes? We did not break the poor ogre, right? You look well, don't you?
Skulk sat there quietly, ignoring the one that started him on this journey of emotional and social exploration in the first place.
Yes, you look good and well. You will not tell them I took you too far. You are just taking a long campaign of self-exploration. Here, take some foods and ales I brought you.
The man-camel did panic a bit when he first saw the naked, tarred, and hairless ogre sadly staring into nothingness. But the beast was not one of much patience. He grew hungry pretty much the moment he sat in his less than comfortable seat, so it only took a couple of moments of Camelman wafting the food past Skulk's nose before the beast broke and grabbed the meal from him. As Skulk ate the meats, the gangly gesture found himself nervously filling the air with words.
The citizens still party. No one told them to stop. They grow tired. They drink but do not enjoy. Many die in the streets from their own going too far. I did not do that to them.
The man-camel remembered his imaginary watchman and spun his head around, making sure no one was coming for him.
Population has become a chore. Many don't even climax anymore. The ones that do are extremely uninspired. Most of the females carry children now. They all lay fearful of stopping the party, but want nothing more than its end.
What Camelman said was true. The city that was always falling apart had, fallen apart. No one manned the cranes to put back things that fell. No one stopped the boom tubes from booming. And no one dared stop partying, being used to not moving on from anything unless told to do so. The man-camel, in penance for what he felt he did to Skulk, became his servant. The gangly one ran to get him food and drink and continued to speak to the beast, trying to loosen him up. After some months, Skulk began to spit back some words and phrases, to the surprise of Camelman. Not only was he glad to see the ogre coming out of his shell, but he had always thought the ogre was just a little too dumb to form complex thoughts and communicate them. The man-camel felt a little lost after this breakthrough, though. The ogre was more of a drug-fueled plaything than a partner or a friend. While he felt, for the first time, a little good about himself for helping someone and staving off some particularly paranoid delusions, he also grew bored pretty quickly. The beast's gesture plopped down cross-legged next to the garbage throne, stuck a hot tarry substance on a spoon, and cooked it up while watching Skulk mope. As he stuck it in his arm and plunged the stopper down, the man-camel considered how much had changed. Meh, he thought. Skulk had been a fool by situation to an extent. Keep in mind, this is the oldest he had ever been since he began rebirthing. How much knowledge could someone alive for only a couple of days really have? I don't mean to say he had the intelligence of a hive mind liberator, but give a gimpy mule enough times of kicking himself in the nuts, and he'll learn to walk a little straighter. Eventually, the people of the city wanted some answers. With Camelman nervously talking to himself as he scoured the city for things to bring the ogre, the citizens began to believe the gangly one might actually be real. In his mutterings, the people caught words like, "fix the beast that broke the city," and "won't come down the mountain." They also caught a lot of words like cocaine all and wow. After a year of deliberation among small gatherings of people, a group of two brave individuals and their not-so-brave and kinda stupid older brother decided to climb the mountain and see if the beast was really up there. In the past, only a few of the elite followers of Baghead had ever dared to reach the Trash Mountain's top. The path was long, and when Lady Baghead was up there, had a curious way of being extremely dangerous. The three prepared for the ascent for over a dozen months, being sure to do push-ups while partying and running as fast as they could from celebration to celebration. Eventually, the day came when the city's hopeful saviors would go up the mountain. They were throwing an elaborate party under the guise of continuing to celebrate Skulk's death. The three brothers were excited, not necessarily to make contact with Skulk, but because it was told that the trip could take days, weeks, or even end in death. No matter the outcome, at this point, all those time frames sounded like a splendidly long break from partying. The first steps to glory were taken. However, without Lady Baghead there to interrupt their travel, as she had done to all travelers that weren't elite followers of Baghead, the brothers made it up the mountain with far less trouble than expected. In fact, it only took them about 3.5 hours. Upon arriving near the top of the mountain before the day had even ended, the three courageous idiots set up camp a couple hundred yards below the top. They decided they deserved to reward themselves for their bravery, but the only reward they could think of was getting hammered. No one wanted to get hammered. So they choked down a few ales, acted drunker than they were, and put themselves down for the night after pretending to be extremely tired.
Totally wasted, yeah. Oh, yeah, tired. Ooh.
At what would be dawn, if the sun ever changed positions, the three packed their things up and actually considered what they were about to do. Having had a day of near sobriety in them, they remembered some of the not-so-great things Skulk had done while partying, like literally fucking through people being one of them. Those last few hundred yards took much longer due to these memories. Each attempt was halted by one of the men figuring out a reason they should stay back. The sun was in their eyes.
Yeah, I mean, the sun is
a little longer never hurt anyone.
A little longer ain't bad.
What if the ogre wasn't awake yet? And of course, what if the beast decided to fuck right through them? Eventually, the oldest, dumbest brother reminded them that someone might eventually figure out they stopped partying, and the other two feared being reprimanded. As they crested the lip of the mountaintop, the three came face to face with what had become of Skulk. Now looking more like a yeti than anything else, the ogre was covered in thick, overgrown hairs that came with being alive for so long. The beast didn't notice the three city folks' approach as he continued with his regularly scheduled programming of looking to the sky in frustration.
Excuse us, Your Greatness, we were hoping you'd give us advice on how to keep celebrating. Or you can tell us to stop, you know? I mean, I know we were never told to stop, but 3 years is just extremely long time. I mean, what would you have us do? Stop? Or keep partying, keep partying. We can keep partying, or we can stop.
Skulk felt bad for the people he used to care about. He hadn't realized how he had changed since Lady Baghead disappeared. How much they changed. Skulk now questioned things inside himself. He began to communicate with his words instead of his fists. He was also hairy as shit. The people below had also changed. Skulk looked at the men cowering and sneaking chugs of booze they didn't want to take. Upon further review, Skulk found them to be the same sniveling creatures that were fearful of change and did what they were told. The ogre felt a bit embarrassed for leaving the people he had promised himself he'd help to the wayside.
Please help us. Give us direction. Maybe to stop partying?
I am no king.
The ogre rose from his makeshift throne. It had been so long since he had stood that the cracking of his bones sounded like trees breaking under the pressure of the tree destroyers outside the city walls. Leftovers and trash shook free from the thick fur covering his body.
You make decisions for self. You control your fate.
The men cowered at the relearning of his size, but persisted, as their want for answers were more pressing than their fear of what the ogre was capable of.
Yeah, but, can you please just tell us what to do? The city's in ruins. I mean, more than even before you came to rule.
I am no ruler.
Skulk drove his fist into the mountaintop, shaking the acme with a boom similar to the one produced by the boom tubes. The eldest brother, not being the surest of foot, slipped while standing at the edge of the crag and tumbled down the sheer side of the mountain. 54 broken bones, a torn trachea, and a twice-punctured lung were amassed in his fall. He also went splat at the end. The beast instantly calmed and felt quite a bit of remorse for his accidental murder. The two brothers were terrified that their fate was about to be the same.
But you kept sending your friend down with beer and drugs to keep the party going. He said we should be happy and enjoy. We thought you had killed the followers of Baghead up here, and this is what you wanted.
Skulk turned and looked at the drooling Camelman laying on his belly making circles with his fingers in the dirt.
You said you were getting food.
Among other things, we all deserve, to be happy.
Camelman smiled an extremely heroined-out grin. Skulk bowed his head in disbelief. The position he never wanted was his. He sent the men back down the mountain, apologizing
Sorry.
profusely for killing their brother,
Really sorry.
and told them that those who needed answers could climb up and get what advice he had to give. He sat back down and took the baggie out of Camelman's hands and asked the man-camel to use his claws and give him a trim. As he gripped tighter to Lady Baghead's bag, he prepared to be inundated with all the problems of his world.
Do drugs get fucked, it's great. Do drugs inebriate. Do drugs to celebrate. Do drugs myself I hate. Get fucked, it's great. Do drugs. Get fucked, you push, I'll shove. Get fucked, I mean make love. Get fucked, it's good, sort of. It's great, do drugs, get fucked. It's great, you'll self-destruct. It's great, you're so starstruck. Well, you're in luck. Cocaine. Stronger, faster, got my dick is so harder. I wanna fuck all night until you make me too late. I'm making lists, I'm dropping names. I feel so different but the same. Here comes the days destroying light. I won't put up a fight. There's nothing left for me. I may as well just take my leave and make my way home. But fucking pass the blow. Cocaine, you slave. Cocaine, We're just gonna get so huge. Please like me. Cocaine.